Everyone, and happy Monday. We have a very pretty planner page to do today, which I'm excited about, but also, you know, there's a lot of little detail going on, but I'm sure we can do it. So I have my Polychromos pencils with me because of all the little details on the page, and I thought I might start with some greenery up here. Let's come in close for you. And I don't know why I've chosen to start here. It just looked like a nice place to get going. So let's pick a green. Yes, let's pick this green. This is the olive green yellowish. It's a colour I don't use that often. I'm just going to sharpen it and make a start. Now, I'm thinking I might do all these different colours. I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to start with this one. You'll see why. So I'm going to put in quite a lot of layers here and then just fade it off here. I might just put a tad there, but we're going to put another colour in and then work through. So I hope everyone's well. I'm looking forward to this page. It is a little bit of a daunting page, but I remember doing it when I had the book. When I completed the book. This is from Worlds of Wonder, isn't it? And I had a lot of fun colouring it, so it's nice to do it again. I was thinking about maybe doing some bricks on the house, because I have done a brick tutorial for you before, but there isn't a lot of space. I'm pointing, you can't see. Typical me. There are some bricks drawn around, stones around the sort of porch, so we can do those, and I think I did a tutorial for those. Actually, that's interesting. Just remembering. I'm going to grab a earth green yellowish now. It's really hard to see. And do the rest of the leaf. Yes, I did this tutorial. It was a written one, so it wasn't a video, and it's in my Ko-fi shop, available for free download. I'll try and remember to put a link in the description, because so I made a few sort of tutorials which were just words and photos rather than videos, because I wasn't sure if people would find those useful, because I do when I've got a book like Helen Elliston. I like having it printed and it's slower. I can work at my own pace. I don't have to keep pausing a video and things like that. So I did a few, but they weren't particularly popular. So I thought I would just stick with the video thing, but they're available for anybody who still wants to have a look at them. Right, green gold next. Where are we? There. And we're just going to move across to our next plant and put a bit of green gold in the middle. So, so yes, those are available. And one of them shows you how to do the stones around the door of this particular house. So a little bit of green gold, and then I'm going to go over the top with the May green. I need to sharpen it. Here it is. Well, I'm using all my sort of more yellowy, olivey colours. I think the easiest way with this is to actually start at the tip and then spread the colour down, and then it will just mix up with the yellow. I'm not going for an autumnal feel really. I just fancied using a bit of yellow on this particular one. The next one won't be. It's just a bit different. There we go. The next one is much smaller, so I'm only going to use one colour. I'm actually going to use the Chromium Green Opaque, which again I'm sharpening. I've been busy this morning. It's already 10:15. I was uploading some videos and scheduling some social media posts. I find it much easier to do that than to have to try and do it each day. If I don't have time, I don't have to do it. And I wrote a newsletter which has gone out, but you would have had it if you subscribed. If you haven't subscribed to my newsletter, you can find them all on my website. There's a link in the video description to find them. But yeah, you can subscribe and get them in your inbox, or you can just wait and read them on the website. I usually put them on the website a few days after, just so that those of you who subscribe get a little bonus of getting it a bit early. This is the permanent green olive, and I'm going to use that for the beginnings of this one and do a couple of colours again. Fade it off towards the tip. I seem to be filling in the whole of the leaf, but it doesn't matter. We can still go over the tip in a lighter colour in a minute. I've been using Prismas a lot. I have to try and remember that it's such a different technique to Polychromos, and so to remember, because with the Prisma, oops, I'm grabbing my May green to finish this one. I know we've used it already. With a Prisma you would just be able to smush the colour around a bit, but you can't do that with Polychromos. You have to just colour over the top, so you have to make sure your blending is better, your lay down is more even. There we go. I was thinking of doing this page in Prisma, but it's too small. So there are those flowers, and I thought we could do these ones down here in a very similar way. I'm going to try and remember what I did. So we started with the olive green yellowish with the first one, so I shall do this one. I want to mix it up a little bit, so because it's sort of opposite each other on the page, you know, sort of top left, bottom right, it's quite nice to have them similar, I think. Now I've been thinking about the ground in this picture, what to do it as. Is it grass? I think so, because I'm looking and I think, well, at the top near the tree on the right, you can't see it on the screen, there's some grass around the base of the tree, but also near the house there's some. Oh, there's some here. So I'm thinking maybe this is the earth green yellowish. I think I used, it doesn't matter if I haven't, if the combinations aren't exact. I don't think so anyway. I've got to say that because I can't remember them. But yeah, so it looks like there's grass, but we've got little rocks on there. I'm thinking, would there be a path from the sort of here, and if there is, am I daring enough to try and draw one in? Not sure about that. So anyway, I've been thinking, but I've not been doing. Right, next, oops, woo, my pencils, can you hear them? They're going on a little journey. Next is the green gold again. Maybe we'll do it on this end one. This is my new green gold. I've been using up my old one when I'm not making videos, but I thought I'd use my new one for video. I haven't even sharpened it yet. You can see how the lead is still textured from where it's new. I didn't even show you what it was, did I? Right, now what did we use with the green gold? Did we use the May green? I think we did. I think we used the May green twice. And we went from the tip and blended it inwards. And what I will have to do is make sure that my grass is a completely different shade of green so that it doesn't disappear, you know, so we can see everything that's going on now. We used, did we use this Chromium green opaque on its own for the small one? We've got a small one again. I think I'll do the same thing. I'll try and fade it a bit to the tip, but I'm not sure if I can. Yeah, I've been doing some Chris Cheng colour alongs, which have been very educational. Skin tone ones I've done. It's amazing how many different colours she uses, and I've done a skin tone picture since. Permanent green olive, I don't think we've used that one yet. And it was really enlightening. I didn't use like a million layers like she does. But I did use more and a bigger range of colour as well, and that was quite interesting. And I was happy that I had improved. It's still not, you know, I was going to say it's still not as good as hers. Of course it's flipping not. I would never expect it to be. Right, I think, what do we use on the tips of that? I'm going to use the earth green yellowish. I don't know what I'm supposed to be using. And I certainly learnt a lot. And she also did gemstones and metallic in this particular picture that I did. And you may have seen it. I'm trying to think when it goes up on my socials. It's in my newsletter, I forgot that. Excuse me, I've got to stop and wipe my nose, and then we'll do this bush here and move it across a bit. Now we have these leaves, and I'm always wonder whether to do them lighter or darker than the main bush. I'm not sure. I quite like to use the same greens that we've been using. I feel that it's nice to have some consistency, but I also really like them. So let's start with the May green. Let's do everything, including the leaves, in May green. Let's start with that. So I'm going to do a lightish touch. I want it to show up, but I need to be able to add more layers. So don't push down too hard, or else you will burnish your paper. I don't know what you'll burn. You'll burnish the pencil into the paper, and you won't be able to get any more layers in, and we're going to do more. I was going to do the house today. I don't think I am now. I think I'm ending up doing other things. I can't decide what colour to do the house, so that's probably why I'm procrastinating and doing other things. It won't be green. Excuse me. That's for sure. It certainly won't be green. So anyway, what's the best way to do this? Yeah, so I'm not sure when those pictures are being shared, but as I say, they're in my newsletter. But it was good fun. I'm going to do some more skin tone tutorials with Chris Cheng, I think. She's got some more from books that I have got from pictures I haven't done. I think, I don't know actually, I haven't looked them all up. I looked up Hannah Carlson, and because I wanted to do one of hers with Chris Cheng. And so it helped me a lot, I have to say. I'm leaving that for now. It's nowhere near enough, but I'm just going to grab the permanent green olive and do some darker shades. So I'm going to go down from the bottom here and just bring some colour up like that to start adding in a bit more depth. I think the tips would be lighter. I mean, not necessarily. Don't worry about the leaves that I'm ignoring. We will do something with those, she says to herself, wondering what on earth she is going to do with them. We just erase them. Yeah. No, I don't know. Yeah, so I'm going to have a little look and see what else she has to offer. And I also was a little bit worried about doing Chris Cheng because I thought it would take up so much time. But actually, I've got a bit quicker at colouring than last time I did one. What I don't like is that she misses out big chunks and you have to sort of guess. But I'm now a lot more aware that she does that. So she might colour one flower and then you carry on, you do a few more, and you suddenly, the other flowers have become coloured in the same way as the original one. And you're like, well, I can't remember how you did it. So what I do now is I have a good look at the final picture and make myself aware of what's what, so that as soon as she's finished a flower, I know which other ones are going to be that colour, so I colour those while I remember, and I've got the pencils in front of me and that sort of thing. So that helps me a little bit, but I do feel her videos are probably not for beginners. If you don't, my first time when I first started following hers and I didn't have Prismacolor pencils, which is what she uses, I'm going to grab my earth green yellowish and I'm going to try and blend these two colours together. I'm going to start over here actually, because it's a bit scruffier over here. So I had to use a Prisma Poly conversion chart. I use Colour with Claire's, which is a really good one, but it doesn't have every single colour on because there aren't exact matches for all of them. And so I had to then make some of them up myself, which took time and I found hard. I've now done my own chart, which is available for free in my Ko-fi shop, which has the closest matches that I think. So some of them are quite way off, but they're the closest I could find, and that I would have found that very helpful, so I'm hoping that other people do too. It's my most popular download from the shop, so I'm assuming people like it, or like the idea of it. I hope they like it once they download it. Right, we're grabbing a completely different colour now. This is a cadmium yellow lemon, and I'm going to use this for the edges of my bush. And it should just brighten these edge bits. I think it's quite nice to have this sort of light vibrant tips. We're spending quite a long time on one bush though, aren't we? But hey, it's okay. This might take us the whole week. Okay, now it's looking a little bit scruffy to me, so I'm going to grab my May green, and I'm going to go back over it all and just try and neaten it off a bit. Now, how I do that is I basically put a layer over, but as I'm colouring, I look and I see, like here, there for me, there's a lighter area, so I'm going to put more of this down there to make it look a little darker. And here there's a stripe of pale, so I'm just colouring over that. And I'm just trying to, get rid of the pencil marks, get rid of any big differences in light and dark which aren't intentional, and things like that. Okay, now I just want to put in a little bit of shadowing at the wrong pencil. I nearly dropped it then. Dark sepia. Now I'm thinking here where we've got these, my son is laughing at me, overlaps. There'd be some shadowing. And around here. So I'm just putting a little bit along the edge of the black line basically to sort of emphasize the fact that we've got this sort of overlap, and there'll be a bit of shadow, be a little bit darker. We've done this a little bit already by putting some darker colour up against the line, but this will just make it stand out even more. Now those leaves, I'm going to make those darker. Oops, I'm going to grab, I hope this is going to be dark enough, the permanent green olive. It's not a really dark colour, but I think if I just go over each leaf with it, it will just stand out. There we go. I'm just going to do them all the same plain. Now if you don't like the leaves standing out, you can just leave them. Ha, good pun there. Just leave the leaves. And not worry, but I quite like, just because Johanna's drawn them as standing out, I feel they should. Now, after this, we're going to move on to the tree, I think. We might as well sort of do more green. So here's our tree. We do the top bit first. We will do the trunk as well. There we go. So I think I'm going to use a similar set of colours as before. We'll start this time now with a slightly darker one. We'll start with dropping a pencil. We'll start with the earth green yellowish. Oh, I don't know if you can see. And cover all of the green, the leafy area. If it was already green, we wouldn't need to colour it, would we? Oh dear. It's going to be one of those days. Here we go. So it's just the same all over really. I'm trying to get it fairly even. It's not that easy to get big areas of colour even, but if you use a round and round colouring technique, you're less likely to see the lines, but I can always still see them a little bit anyway. But trees aren't evenly coloured, so I think I used to try really hard to get a really even colour, particularly in the background. If I just wanted a plain colour background, I would layer and layer and layer and try and get it looking like it was pen, you know, really even. Well, not that pen is always that even, like it was like a Posca, I suppose, even. And then I realised that actually using a Posca is much easier, so I could use that. Obviously you're a bit more limited on colour, but you know, that's okay. Okay, so there's the start of our tree. I am going to use the permanent green olive now, and think about where it's going to be darker in here. Yeah, so I realised that trying to persevere with pencil is actually really hard, and I shouldn't have worried too much about it. And yeah, you can use a pen. It's worth making sure that you are using the right tools for the job effectively. Don't like for a background, if you want a smushy light background, use a soft pastel. It's so much quicker. I realise not everyone has the tools. You know, if you don't have the pastels, then obviously you can't use them, but if you've got them, use them, you know. I hope you can see that I'm just trying to add a little bit of colour here and there to make our tree look a little bit more three-dimensional. Now I'm going to go all over our tree in May Green, just to blend it, well, just sharpen it. It can be easier with a sharp pencil. Now when you do this, it might flatten it a little bit, in the sense that you might not be able to see where you've put in some darker colour shadows and things, so you may need to go back over with another colour after to to define it a little more. So bear that in mind when you're colouring, because you don't want to burnish it down really hard, or else you've got no tooth left in your paper to be able to do that. But I'm quite happy with this, to be honest. There we go. I'm going to leave it there, but we're going to get some browns. We're actually going to get some different colours. Now, I've always found it a little bit difficult with this tree trunk to work out where it ends. Now, I'm assuming that here it ends there, but here, I don't know. We'll just go for it and see. Now, I'm going to use my lighter brown first. So I'm going to use the Bistre. Okay, just sharpening it because those branches are quite small. So here's a Bistre, and just going to go over all of the, I nearly went there, that's not part of the tree. I don't know what I'm going to do with that frame yet. Oh, look, can you see how I've missed a bit in there? I'm just going to take my May green, just fill that in. There we go. And just put your layer of Bistre down, reasonably even. It was the train. Just remind me I need to put my tablet on, see if my son's okay. One of them's here today, one of them's at uni. We had such a problem yesterday with one of them with the I'm just thinking about this, with the problem with the trains, but today they seem okay. But my son was a bit worried because his class today, if you arrive more than 15 minutes late, his teacher says there's no point in you being here, don't stay, because if you haven't been for the first 15 minutes then you won't learn anything. He doesn't agree, but he was a bit worried about making sure he got in on time. I am now using the walnut brown to do try to make the tree look a little more tree-like. Now, what I like to do is to go along the edges of the tree to start with. That's it, I can see it showing up. So I'm just going to go all the way down on the top of the branch as well. Now this branch I feel is further back, it needs to be a little bit darker. And down there. Let's put a few lines on where it's you know, the bark is gnarly. It's a good word, isn't it? It's a word that I picked up from Jamie Oliver, you know, the chef. You might not know him. He I don't know him personally, obviously. He uses it for something, I can't remember what it is, because he tends to make his food quite rustic looking and uses the word gnarly sometimes to describe it. Being a bit lighter here because we're sort of fading our tree off there. Yeah. Now I'm just going to put a few lines here. Now I've got a line here that Johanna's drawn. I'm going to emphasise that a bit. I think she's meaning that, you know, there's a little bit of a sort of mark in the trunk. Yeah. Okay, now let's think about this grass because we've got some growing around the tree. I don't want to use any of the colours I've used already, and we do have a grass green. It's quite pale, and for me grass isn't necessarily that pale. I think I might use the leaf green rather than the grass green. It's nice and long. My grass green's getting a bit short. Not that that's a good reason for choosing a pencil, but yeah. So let's use the grass green for doing these little tufts. Now they're so small, short, that I can only put one colour in. Now, what we're going to do with all this grass, let's get this done. It's quite a big, daunting area, isn't it? So let's get our pencil, hold it quite near the end. I think I'm going to hold it in the middle actually, and just get going. We want an up and down stroke because that's how grass grows. Okay, now we want it to potentially look a little bit liney because, as I say, that's how grass grows. Now you could put a path in, as I vaguely mentioned and then wished I hadn't earlier. These bits I'm going to define a little bit darker. And back to my gentle lines. So you could think about putting a path in here. What I would do was extend that straight down there and then sort of colour it as gravel or something. Shall I do it? I will. You don't have to. If you don't like it or you don't like the idea, then just carry on with the grass. But we'll have a go. I'm going to try and carefully colour around these stones. It's a little bit difficult when you're trying to go the same direction. You might have to just change direction a little bit to get around these. But you can colour them in quite dark, so it doesn't matter if a bit of green goes over the top because you colour over it anyway. Yeah, one of my sons home today, he's having to write a computer game. He's writing a battleships game. So as I say, just keep it to there. I don't know how straight it would be. Probably fairly straight, wouldn't it? And then we'll do like that. Because I'm thinking if it's grass and then gravel, it's going to go out of place. It's not going to be perfect. Well, some people's gardens are, aren't they? Mine certainly isn't. It's full of dead plants at the moment. It's not the best. Oh, I just have to go for a minute. Hang on. Back now and noticing how squiff we are. Right, let's carefully go around our stones. It is a little odd because normally on a lawn you wouldn't have rocks and stones placed. You would normally move them. I mean, imagine mowing the lawn when there are those in the way. So maybe it shouldn't be grass, but it is. So there we go. And as I say, we'll do a bit of gravel in the middle. Just making sure you can see properly. I don't know why sometimes I suddenly get a thought, have I pressed the record button? Can you actually see what I'm doing? Always the answer is yes, I've pressed record. Often it's no, you can't see. But anyway. So you can see that this is a very different green, which means that it stands out, which was what I was talking about earlier when I was doing these. I love this window down here. Look, I don't know if it's supposed to be a window, to be honest, but for me it looks like a little spooky basement window. Let's just do that bit. There we go. Yeah, I think it's interesting. So we do have houses in the UK. I don't know whether, not that look like this particularly, but on main streets where there's a little basement. They were so strange. I used to walk along a road with some in on my way from school every day. And so you'd get the main pavement or sidewalk, as you in the US call it, and you'd have a house with the front door right on the pavement. Nothing unusual about that here. But in front of the house, say this is the door, let's say this is the pavement, it's all flat, you'd have a little grid or grill just here on the pavement, and if you look down there was a basement window down below there. I do remember a time when we were walking along and my sister was walking on the grill and her foot slipped in it. There was a gap big enough for a foot to go down and she slipped and her foot ended up down. Ooh, a bit of a shock. She was fine. She hurt herself a little bit. Yeah, not too much, but it was a bit of a, you know, think, my goodness, if her shoe had fallen off. But I guess she would have had to have, because some of them are big enough to have a little yard. In our town, they have a little yard in front of their basement window, so you can go out and get things. And it's some of the really old houses in our town. I'm just thinking about my gravel. I think I'm going to use the green gold as a sort of base and then put all sorts of dots and shapes on it. Sorry, green gold. So yes, in our town we have some which have steps on the outside, a gate. So you've got your front door and you've got a bit that comes out. You've got steps up to the front door and steps down to the sort of little bit down below, like you can enter the basement through a door on the front. And I almost think it's like it's the tradesman's entrance to the houses, you know, that they would have... Right, I've done that in an up and down, but it doesn't really need to be, so I think I'm going to do another very light layer in the other direction just to try and get rid of those lines. You may have coloured it neatly. There we go. Now what I've just realised is that colouring like this, when you do a path straight forward, it doesn't always look very good 3D wise. It looks like it's a vertical rather than horizontal, so we'd need to try and do something about that. Now when we draw our stones on our path, the further away bits will be smaller than the closer to bits, but we're only drawing a very small bit. So I've grabbed a darker brown, this Van Dyck, and what I'm going to do is draw some larger gravel here. It's just random, and then try and shrink it as I get nearer to the step. It's really difficult because they're already quite small, but I'm going to make it dots here. And then get slightly bigger rather than just dots as we come down here. Now be careful if you're dotting, because if your pencil's really sharp you can dot through the page. Not that, you know, just don't do it too hard. Now don't be afraid to do a few dots off the path because they would spill. Having got a gravel, had a gravel driveway myself in the past. And hopefully that looks a little more like this bit's closer to us and this bit's further away. I'm going to use another colour of gravel as well, and I'm thinking maybe a more orangey brown. Let's use the Siena, the unburnt Siena. It's small. So again, dots here. Now of course the size wouldn't necessarily change that quickly, but this should, I'm just hoping it helps a little bit with perspective. Not a perspective expert. I always find it weird when people, oh, I'm copying this drawing of the street and I'm going to use these perspective rules, and I'm always confused because I'm like, if you're doing something from your own head, yeah, I can see why perspective rules might be useful because it's not there. But if you're copying something that you can see, then surely you just copy the perspective that's there. Why do you need to follow the rules? Maybe I'm being a bit thick. I don't know. There we are. I think I'm going to leave that there, but I am going to do, before I finish, the other greenery. We've got a tree here, and I'm going to just use the permanent green olive on our tree. Let's come in a little closer. We'll sort of do all the pots. Let's move like that. We won't be doing the actual pots, just the trees and plants that are in the pots. So there's that one, but I'm going to grab a slightly darker colour, the Chromium Green Opaque, and just put some bits of this on as well, just to make it look a bit textured. And then we have the little one in front. I'm going to sharpen my earth green yellowish to do that one. Oh, I am going to do actually the tree trunk. We've got some browns here. I think I'll just use the Bistre that we used for the tree trunk of the other tree, but I'm not going to do anything fancy. That's it. Okay, let's move over here. Whoops, my pencils are rolling around. Let's use the olive green yellowish for this one, but we'll just use it at the bottom, and we'll do the tips in a slightly lighter colour. Just trying to emphasise that bottom part, and then I'll grab my May green and do the tips of it. There we go. Get a bit of a different feel. Then behind it we'll do a chrome green opaque plant. This one again is sort of textured. I'm just going to try and use some lighter and darker areas. We actually, here where they're overlapping, it's a bit of a muddle. So I'm going to use my dark sepia just to draw a little shadow line under there. Still doesn't really show up, does it? Does it matter? I don't know. I'm going to use my May green for this little one at the back. There we go. Now we have these two. Can you see those? Yes. Again, trying to stick, whoops, sorry, just going a bit drunk there, trying to stick with the same colours. So I'm going to actually use my two darker colours, the olive green yellowish first, for the base of this little scrubby plant. I'm going to use a circular motion to start to fade it a little bit, and then go in with the Chromium Green Opaque again, so a darkish one, but using it quite lightly just to spread that colour up into the edges of our plant, bush. I should put some dead ones in, then it would look like my garden. Permanent green olive. No? No, let's not. I'm doing it all in this colour. I've got distracted thinking about something else. Just going to grab my leaf green where I did the grass, because there's a little bit here that I think needs a bit more work. There we go. You may not have worried. Yours might look really good. Okay, now I am just going to do these little stones in the grass. Whoops. Pencils are rolling everywhere. I'm going to do them grey, in a dark, in a warm grey. I was going to say a French grey. No, warm grey 5. We're not in, needs a good sharpen, not in Prismas. As I said, I've been using a lot of Prismas. There we go. Now I'm going to try to just make them a little darker at the bottom and lighter towards the top. They're too small to do too much with, and I'm keeping them all the same colour. When we do the ones around the door, we might do something a little bit more fancy. But this, after all, these are just garden stones. think it just gets that bit finished. Now I'm going to grab my green, leaf green again. My pencils are rolling. And I'm just going to do a few final touches on the grass before we finish. So here it is, leaf green. Now I'm going to colour around these stones a bit better. But I'm also thinking, are there going to be some darker areas like under here? Can you see what I'm doing? I'm just putting in where I think there might be some shadow in the grass. And I'm hoping it doesn't look too odd. I'm not looking at it as a whole, I'm just sort of doing it and hoping. I like this bottle. I've got no idea what it's supposed to be. There we go. Now, what I also feel I'd like to do is a few tufts. Sorry, you didn't see all of that. Oh, there we go. So, I'm thinking like this. Now, again, you have to do this. You want them to be a bit bigger near the front, smaller up here. Give us a bit of perspective. As I say, I'm not an expert on this. And you can not do any or do a few, completely up to you. Like that. And I just think it adds a little bit of interest into the grass. And what you could do if you want is get a pen, a white pen. Got to do some showing through the through these plants. Just moving my pencils away, getting on my way. Go away. What you could do is get a white pen or a yellow pen, like a Posca, and mark some dots around these as if they're little plants growing in the lawn. Now I'm thinking they could be dandelions or buttercups or daisies, and so have a think about what colour they might be. I think white isn't going to show up because my grass isn't thickly drawn enough, so that's not going to work for me. So I think I might just do some little yellow dots like buttercups or dandelions, I think. I'm going to do that, and then that will be the end. I don't have a pen here though, so hang on a minute. Right, so I have my Posca. It is just called Yellow, and I'm going to try it, and I'm not sure whether they'll really show up very well. I'm just going to put a few dots by these little tufts. Now, if you would rather, you could use pink, purple, any colour. If you only have pencils, you can't do this with a pencil, but you could do purple or blue with a pencil if you pressed quite hard. You need to be a little bit careful. But see how you go. You might be able to get away with an orange on top of. It's hard to know quite. Don't get any on the front, the leaves that are in front, she says to herself. I'm sure you won't. It's just me. I'm just trying to put them sort of at the top of the tufts. They look a bit like daffodils. So a few in here. Stop breathing then. Don't stop breathing. It's just me. There we go. Now I'm not sure how much that shows up, but I don't know, it's a bit different. Little idea for you. Pen rolls away. As I say, you could use purple, it'd be quite pretty. There we go. So we've done a fair bit. It's taken us quite a long time, but we've done most of the green. I know we haven't done the leaves on the roof. That was a decision because I'm not sure what I'm doing with that yet, so I haven't thought about it. But we've made good progress. We might need to think about the sky and the house. Anyway, I'll do that for the next video, but for today, thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day and happy colouring.